nuclear weapons. We put ourselves basically into the irrelevant bracket, and that's not a great place for us to be. We could have offered support, we could have offered defensive support to Israel, we could have openly said to the Americans, you can use our...
When Trump attacked Tehran's nuclear sites, world leaders responded with power. Kier Starmer responded with nothing. No support, no leadership, not even relevance. While America and Israel reshaped the battlefield, Britain wasn't consulted, invited, or even needed. Military analyst Simon Diggins said it best. Starmer is making the UK irrelevant. A nation once central to global decisions has been reduced to a bystander under his watch. This isn't just a foreign policy failure. It's a national embarrassment. But how is it a blunder? Let's get into it.
Do you think that Sir Kier Starmer has taken the right avenue in all of this? Because I rather get the impression that America and Israel probably willfully locked Europe out of this. I think Trump's position, and many people in the American military perhaps for a long time, has been that actually Europe's been way too soft on Iran. We've continued to sell them bits. We've turned a blind eye where they essentially disregarded all the terms of the JCPOA. And do you think that therefore Sir Kier Starmer's position of more diplomacy in order for de-escalation, more jaw rather than war is the right one because he might be more fearful of a fifth column in the United Kingdom? Or should he have come out of his box and said, we support America?
The latter. They should simply have said, you can't do what they've done, which is basically say that we also wish to have the same objective of Iran having no nuclear weapons. We've tried diplomacy. Diplomacy has failed, and then not to come out and actually support people who were removing Iran's ability to have nuclear weapons. We put ourselves basically into the irrelevant bracket.
The first question was so loaded. Has Starmer taken the right avenue in all of this? And the response is a diplomatic evisceration. Simon Diggins doesn't just say Starmer was wrong, he says Starmer is irrelevant. America and Israel, the two real power brokers, apparently didn't even bother glancing across the Atlantic. They just went ahead and acted targets hit, while Europe sat in its diplomatic bathrobe, muttering about negotiations. Starmer, meanwhile, is painted as the guy at the G7 cocktail party trying to talk peace, while the actual players are in a war room drawing up strike maps. His call for de-escalation sounds more like a therapy session than a foreign policy doctrine. The humiliation? This wasn't even about whether diplomacy was right or wrong. It's that no one asked Britain. Starmer didn't get the call. Europe didn't get the call. They were locked out, completely, utterly, like a child being told to stay in the corner while the adults handle real business.
And that's not a great place for us to be. We could have offered support, we could have offered defensive support to Israel. We could have openly said to the Americans, you can use our bases. Let's be honest, one day after the Israelis opened their attack, Iran threatened us. And we did nothing, except we're going to have another diplomatic round. I think that finished last week with the G7, which rapidly turned into the G6. And Donald Trump walked out basically because the rest of them had nothing to say. And we continue to have nothing to say all week, still saying nothing. And now there are complaints talking about, oh, well, this wasn't legitimate or whatever. I mean, the legitimacy and legality are two different things. I think this is absolutely legitimate self-defense. Whether it necessarily fits within the constraints of the current law on that, I think needs to be looked at very, very hard. I want to salute what they've done there. I'm very critical about Israel, about a lot of what they've been doing in places like the Gaza and indeed the West Bank. Well, on this issue, they're absolutely correct and completely aligned with the West's major requirements, which is Iran shall not have a nuclear bomb. These are the people who 136 British soldiers in Iraq terrorized the Middle East and are terrorizing their own people. In 2022, they suppressed women of Iran. In 2020, they shot down a civilian airliner. That's who we're dealing with. The only thing I understand is force, and that's what they've now.
Simon Diggins turns up the heat here. Now, it's not just that Starmer was sidelined, it's that he refused to step up when the UK was threatened directly. Iran named Britain as a target following the US strike. And what did Starmer do? Schedule another diplomatic round. That's not restraint. That's weakness in wearing a tie. Diggins argues that Britain could have offered US forces base access or at least issued a show of support. Instead, the G7 became the G6, Trump walked out, and Starmer still said nothing. The optics couldn't be worse. While missiles fall and alliances flex their muscle, Starmer is in the corner writing another open letter to the universe. What's worse, Diggins explicitly says, Britain put ourselves into the irrelevant bracket. That's a colonel using a military-grade insult. Irrelevance is a strategic liability. Starmer didn't just miss the bus, he got run over by it. Before we continue further, tell us, are you enjoying the video? If yes, please like and share the video and subscribe to our channel for more exclusive videos on the groundbreaking changes happening in British politics. Let's continue now.
Yeah, I agree entirely. I think it is a very positive day. I think that Donald probably deserves a Nobel Peace Prize, but they seem to only give Nobel Peace Prizes to people who then end up being leaders of rather dodgy countries, it seems to be. Thank you ever so much, Colonel Simon Diggins, and saying that, UK could end up being an irrelevance doesn't go as far as what Colonel Richard Kemp said, which is, America might see fit to boot us out of Five Eyes. But again, things that Simon was saying there echoed what I said earlier, which is about this sort of messing around, talking about the legal legitimacy of all of this. I'm sorry, when does that Attorney General, Lord Hermer, who seems to always be on the side of the wrong uns, when did he run this country and our foreign policy? Who is he? I mean, how dare he turn around and say, it's not legally legitimate. Get back in your box, sunshine. We don't want to hear from the likes of you. Pretty alarming, actually, hearing those, unified reviews of people from a military background. Also,
the host ridiculed Starmer for outsourcing foreign policy wisdom to the Attorney General. Who is he? The host asks with open contempt. The point is, in a moment of global crisis, Starmer defers to legal advisors instead of showing leadership. Meanwhile, Trump, like him or not, acted. Statements were made, alliances redefined. Starmer? He's still flipping through briefing notes.
And said Iran should return to the negotiating table following US strikes on nuclear sites last night. But the problem here is, Ryan, it seemed to me Sir Kier Starmer rather fancied himself as the great diplomat, the interlocutor, the geopolitical expert, getting on planes and turning up at G7, this visit, that visit, trying to sort of broker a relationship between Zelensky and Starmer. But when it comes to possibly the most historic day, the most decisive Western action that is going to potentially protect the world, where was he? He was frozen out.
I think this seems to be a unilateral decision by the US. They've taken this, obviously in top secrecy. I wonder whether, and we don't know this at the moment, whether Sir Kier Starmer was informed in advance. He may have had slight notice of these attacks, but it was America who've taken this action overnight. And we've had words from Sir Kier saying that Iran can't be there to develop nuclear weapons, and the US has acted to alleviate that threat. Now, one thing he also says in the statement he's released in the last sort of half an hour or so is to get back round the negotiating table. And he's spoken about this continuously over the past week or so. I was out with him at the G7 in Canada, and what he spoke about was diplomacy and dialogue. He really didn't want to get to this stage. It has. He now thinks that what America have done is try to, as I say, alleviate that threat. But it's time to get talking again.
The host doesn't shout. She stabs with quiet precision. It's clear. Starmer wasn't just overlooked. He was excluded. On a day that changed the game, Britain's Prime Minister was treated as surplus to requirements. Then Ryan Saby takes over, and if the host opened the wound, Saby pours in the salt. He speculates that Starmer may not have even been informed. Maybe he got a heads up as the bombs were already dropping, or maybe not. Either way, Saby confirms the horrifying reality. The US acted alone, with zero reliance on Starmer or the UK. And Starmer's only response? Another soggy call to get back to the negotiating table.
Too. But why is this? Why is Sir Kier Starmer so fearful of actually taking a decision if he thinks of himself as the great diplomat? Why is he so fearful of taking a decision that historically I think is going to be proven to be exactly right one to do? Does it all boil down to his innate fear of community tensions in this country?
Well, I don't actually think that's probably the case. I think let's have a look at the operational decisions that were made by America. Could America actually take this military action by themselves. Did they need to use Diego Garcia, or could they use one of their military bases in the Pacific? So I think we probably need to look at what America was capable of by themselves. They've got those B-2 bombers, those incredible planes that can fly for, they can go for 12 hours, 24 hours. They refuel during the air. So did we actually need UK involvement? Now, again, when I was with Kier Starmer last week at the G7, he didn't pick up anything at that point that the US were going to attack. It just shows you how quickly things happen. But I think it's just very clear. I don't think this is a situation where Britain, in terms of the Iraq War, where there was obviously that close relationship and you had that close bond between George Bush and Tony Blair. In this circumstance, it seems like military action could have been taken by America by itself, and it was. Did they need any allies to drop those bombs on those nuclear targets, those 6 sort of precision attacks? That there may have been some help that was needed, possibly from the UK if they wanted to, and if they were asked to be called upon. But at the moment, from listening to sort of people in and around the debate this morning, it seems like the UK wasn't involved in this at all, and perhaps the UK just wasn't needed in this particular circumstance. So
this final segment doesn't just humiliate Starmer, it humiliates Britain. Ryan Saby poses the cruelest question of all. Did America even need the UK to carry out the strikes? The implication is devastating. No coordination, no consultation, and perhaps no interest in future collaboration. The US acted unilaterally, and the UK was merely a spectator with popcorn. He also notes Starmer didn't pick up anything at the G7, which means either he's clueless or deliberately excluded. Both are bad. And the idea that the UK wasn't needed at all, that Diego Garcia wasn't even necessary, that America could do it solo, drives the dagger into Britain's illusion of global relevance. The comparison to the Bush-Blair days is the final slap. Back then, right or wrong, the UK mattered. Now, the US drops bombs, and Starmer writes statements asking everyone to talk again. This isn't leadership, it's the foreign policy version of therapy. While realpolitik rages, Starmer wants to facilitate dialogue. So, in the end, Starmer didn't just get humiliated, he got erased from the script of global power. While Trump redefined red lines with missiles, Starmer polished press statements. While military leaders talked strategy, Starmer quoted international law. He didn't lead, he didn't speak with conviction, and worst of all, no one listened. Not Washington, not Jerusalem, not even Westminster. The world moved on, and Starmer is still at the terminal, wondering why the plane never came. Why do you think Starmer is so clueless? Does he not matter in international affairs? Let us know in the comments section. Do other leaders care about him? Do you want to watch more videos like this one? If yes, please like and share the video and subscribe to get more updates on British politics and how events are changing it. Until the next video, stay tuned.